Talk to the crows on the wire. They carry a voice I still know. My hands in the dirt, pulling fire from seeds that the dead helped me sow. The gardens remember what I can't forget. A woman who lived here I've already met.
Good.
Hi, Coach.
Hello, how are
Raquel,
you?
what an honor to meet you.
Nice
I'm already
to see you.
tearing up just watching how beautiful this is to be here. Thank you both so much for having us. Welcome. This is Do Tell Belle, and we are reporting from Arkansas, Little Rock, for Juneteenth. It is June 20th today, but Juneteenth every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Is Juneteenth.
That's right. And may freedom continue to ring through your incredible, empowered being. You have done so much, Dr. Elders, for our planet. And what an incredible honor to sit with you today.
Oh, it's a pleasure for you to be here.
It's such a treat. I literally just got here this morning from California and took a night flight and awoke to magnolias and the most beautiful trees of my childhood. I'm remembering them here on your beautiful land. And I would just love to share what an honor it is to be part of this film that we're doing about your life, about your story, and to be a producer and to officially meet you in person today on such a momentous occasion. So thank you for welcoming us into your home and into your incredible wisdom and into your story. So
A pleasure.
will you please share a little bit about your journey with our audience? And
Well, to talk about my journey, you have to go back to, I was born in 1932. And my parents were sharecroppers, but they were wonderful parents, both of them. And they did the best they could as parents, but they were very, very poor. Very pleased for me to be able to get up and go to school every day. My mother felt so strongly about education. She only had an 8th grade education herself, both she and my dad. But she made sure that when I started school, before even first grade, before we knew anything about early childhood education, she wanted to get us started on that I knew my alphabets, my colors, how to write my name, and my multiplication tables through 5. So, but she was just trying to make sure that we were started correctly. And I always did well in school, but I tell everybody, I really appreciate and think early childhood education is so critical and so important. It's been said that children are half as tall as they'll ever be by the time they're 3. They know half as much as they'll ever know by the time they're 4. Hope, will, and drive has been determined by the time they're 5. And my mother, I don't know whether she knew that at the time or not, but she worked hard to make sure that she did the best she could, that we got a good start.
that is so beautiful how appreciative you are of those early memories and also your understanding of how important and vital those needs are to continue to give to children everywhere and every day.
And I feel very strongly about that. And I think pediatricians as a whole feel very strongly about that. And we feel very strongly about early childhood education. And I always told Bill Clinton, that he needed to make sure we promoted early childhood education, and that, there were certain things we need to. I told him there was 5 things we absolutely had to promote, and this was when he was thinking about running for president.
You knew him before.
Oh yes, I was his health director for 6 years in Arkansas before I became the Surgeon General.
Mm.
But I knew Bill Clinton. He was born and grew up probably 50 miles from our home, so I knew him even before that.
Wow. And becoming the Surgeon General, I mean, can we just back up to that moment for a second?
Yeah.
Because that was an honor beyond, you were the first ever, right? I mean,
Yes, first ever African-American Surgeon General. Dr. Novello was the first woman surgeon general, and she was excellent.
I'm sure.
And she was always fixing me. After her, I think Dr. Coop was always fixing her, but she was fixing me as Surgeon General. She'd always say, "Now you can't wear that. You got to go do that." And she still does that today.
She's still guiding you.
In fact, I talked with her probably less than a month ago.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That relationship continued
Yes.
on and on.
Yeah. And she and I, with all the living Surgeon Generals, gave a mental health seminar of all the adolescent seminar for all the Surgeon Generals.
Oh, that's so important. Mental health is one of the most
Yes.
important.
And that we ignore it.
Exactly. Oh, I'm
And it
very
really-
passionate. That's a
Right.
very important issue to me. I also am very strong believer in early childhood education.
Right.
But with also, as you age and have the support that you need that comes up, the
Yes.
acknowledgement for that
Yes.
that need is so essential. And I love hearing that you were advocating for that
Oh, forever.
forever.
Urgent. But I guess I didn't, as I said, my mother was doing early childhood education, but we didn't know about early childhood education. We didn't know anything about early child. We probably didn't even have a name, but she just wanted us to get a good start.
Well, you sure did. And that start bloomed into many other
Yes.
contributions to
Yes.
humanity. I mean, can you talk a little bit about, we were speaking about it earlier, some of what has been uncomfortable to talk about? You have not been afraid.
Oh, well, when we talk about sex and sexuality,
Yes.
well, we had very little, my parents, very little sex education. That kind of came later for me. But I always thought, we were born sexual beings.
Yes.
From the day you're born till the day you die, you're a sexual being.
Correct.
And you need to always protect and take care of your sexuality,
Absolutely.
And so I think I probably got started talking a lot about sexuality when I was really trying to deal with teenage pregnancy when I became governor under Bill Clinton. We were
Governor too?
when
Bill
Clinton
okay.
became
I
governor.
wouldn't be surprised if you were
no,
as well.
oh, no.
I mean,
But he was telling me the things he wanted me to do to get done, and we wanted to reduce teenage pregnancy in Arkansas.
yeah.
And we had the second highest teenage pregnancy birth rate in the world.
Wow.
And so we worked very hard on that. And other governors from other southern states were coming up to find out what we were doing. And of course, we had to talk a lot about it. And, our legislators they were Southern legislators, and they weren't very interested in talking about sex. That's something you don't really talk about.
I wouldn't imagine.
And then they were wanting to talk about, well, why we were so poor and why did we have such high teenage pregnancy problem. And I reminded them that they wanted this. I said, you promoted it. They said, what do you mean? I said, you promote poverty, ignorance, and slavery. I said, that's what you've been promoting. They said, well, Dr. Elders, how do we... And then when I explained to them that not having early childhood education, not teaching young people sexuality education, not teaching them, about their sexuality, and that they were poor and ignorant, and not providing the things that they need to keep them out of poverty. I said, that means that you really like providing. I said, that means you really like having poverty, and you like welfare. I said, you like keep kids poor, ignorant, and slaves. And they said, well, we don't. That's not what we're. I said, but that is what you're about.
Mm-hmm. And then what'd they say?
Then they would stop for a minute. It took, I don't say the first time we said that they said, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. It took a while. Mm-hmm. But we talked about it for a while. And then the more we talked about it, then after a year or two, one of our leaders of the Senate came. He said, Doctor, if we'd done what you said, we wouldn't be in this mess now, would we?
What did you say to that?
I said, you're right. But the problem is, he was able to convince, whereas I was talking and they were listening, half listening. But when he talked and said, we created this, they listened.
Right.
And they started, and then all of a sudden, I had governors flying in from Georgia and wanted to know, well, Bill, what did you do? And I was going down to their state. And then you would go, and everybody on our TV was talking about it. And so if they came during that time, and I was to say, they would say, well, what's the major health problem in Arkansas? I said, regardless to who you ask on the street, any place, walking down the street, they say teenage pregnancy. I said, that may not have been the major health problem we had, but that's what I convinced everybody. And, our major news commentator did a major conference on it. 60 Minutes came down and did a whole conference on problems of teenage pregnancy in Arkansas.
Wow, my mother loved 60 Minutes, and she always talked about, loved it. And always talked about teen pregnancy. Trust me. I mean, it's a deeply rooted connection to listen to you.
I said, as far as I'm concerned, I said, I don't care how many babies people have. I just want them to have when they want them and as many as they want them.
Exactly. Consciously.
Yes.
With their choice.
Choice.
That's right. Their own sovereignty.
That's right.
Well, that's what the world needs now.
That's what we need. That's how we, I don't know many teenagers. There are a few who would really, who maybe be married and want to get pregnant and have a baby and all that. But for the most part, most teens aren't ready to get. That doesn't say they don't want sex.
Right.
They said we don't want to get pregnant right now.
Right.
And so what we need to do is really spend our energy and effort teaching sex education, teaching them how to have sex.
Yeah.
But if you're not ready to have babies, don't have babies.
Exactly. Seems pretty clear to me. and simple.
Right.
But not if you don't know,
Not
right?
if you
not
don't
if
know.
you don't know, and you can't.
And as far as I'm concerned, I told the major problem with the teenage pregnancy and a lot of the things was ignorance.
Right. Exactly. Well, you're here to shine a light on all of it.
Oh,
And so, I
no.
mean, so you were this incredible pediatrician first, right? Before
Right.
you were
Yes.
the Surgeon General.
Yes.
And I know that so when did that chapter happen? Was that first, before?
I was the pediatrician first, obviously. Then I was the director of health for the state of Arkansas, second, for 6 years. And then then Bill Clinton asked me to be the Surgeon General.
I bet that was quite an honor, too.
It was, but even then we talked about it, and he asked me what he asked me what should he talk about, and I told him the 6 things I felt that he should make sure he covered.
You gave him a list. Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Good.
I went to his office and I wrote it out. I said, because one of the things about Bill Clinton, he's wonderful, and with regards to what you were going to talk about, he's a better speaker, but I wrote out my list, and I said, Governor, here's my list, and I went down my list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think he was I don't think he was shocked about that. I just think he thought that
You knew what to do.
well, no, he thought that I knew what I thought, and that didn't mean he had to think of that, but he agreed with. He didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. He saw that you were clear.
Yes.
And maybe he needed to listen.
Yes.
And you got his attention.
No, I felt that I got his attention.
Oh, yeah, big time. I love it. Well, what would you say at this point where the world is? I completely agree on the early childhood education being a very vital.
Absolutely. I felt we need to have early childhood education. And I told him we had to have comprehensive health education in schools.
That's right.
From K through 12. He said, and the ones, so well, Dr. Elders, what do you teach 5-year-olds? I said, and nothing else, you teach them that there are certain places nobody is to touch.
Yes.
If they do, you tell somebody, tell your parents. So it was that kind of conversation.
It's really an honor to have this conversation with you because I talk about it publicly, but my first abuse was sexual abuse when I was a child, really early. And then it continued on in different forms.
Right.
And I think that you nailed it when you bring that light to the wound, it can start to heal. But if it's shut down and you don't know what to do, you can't do anything about it. And so, except stay trapped in the shame and the fear and the sex being this terrifying thing versus what it's meant to be, right? And something about love. So it's fascinating to have these conversations because what if people did actually learn from a very early age what boundaries were,
right?
And it's essential that we learn what consent is. So I'm very, very grateful for your work on this and for the next chapter for the film.
Okay.
So what are you most excited to share about with your work for the world and to all those ready to receive your blessings? You've given so much to this planet.
I felt that one of the things I really worked very hard on is I worked very hard on women. I wanted women to feel that they were in control of their bodies themselves, and they could make the really important decisions. And I just said that, I have so many bright young women out there that I feel that I've influenced. And the thing that I feel the most, I tell them, in fact, I often get up and I talk about some of them, And many of them are doing many wonderful things, nothing to do with sex or anything. And I'd say, I said, yeah, I'm giving them an A for being wonderful professionals. You know, I said many of them are doctors and lawyers and head of educational running medical insurance things. I said, but I said half of them get Fs. And one of them who's done very well, she's running she just set up a medical group, and she was a health director at one time, and so she said, but that, and I told him, yeah. She said, Dr. Elders, I didn't. This was like a big meeting, and I was talking. She said, I didn't make an F. I said, no. I said, maybe I can give you a C. But what I'm saying is, she's married and has 2 children, has done well. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying. But she was just saying, but I didn't make an F.
All these memories and all these characters and memories, right?
And this is related to a lot of young women who I felt very strongly about, and I probably influenced some of them.
I think more than some. I think a lot. You've influenced a lot of women, and I believe men too. Being able to listen.
But I was, I was really at that time very concerned. Women were just kind of not. We weren't supposed to be doctors. We weren't supposed to be leaders. We were supposed to be followers. We were supposed to stay at home, raise babies, and do what we're told. In fact, many of our leaders felt, one of them said, you keep your women barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen. Well, we've come a long ways from that.
It's been a different time, but I can imagine the roots of that were just, you were ready to change the system.
Oh,
right away.
Right. Well, it was changing, but that was long before me. But that was one of my legislators in Arkansas was saying that. You keep women barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen.
Do you remember the year? When was that?
Oh, this was probably in the 60s or 70s, So, it's been a long time, but it hadn't been that long.
Exactly. Well, you are a queen of evolution, and there is so much that has happened for the good of our world because of you.
Yes.
And it's just such an honor to sit with you and to imagine your legacy being captured in this way through this film we're making together, and to honor your stories and to really share with the world what you've given to humanity. It's humbling, and it's a major gift of my life to sit next to you.
The main reason, the person I want to give the reason for my really getting to be the Surgeon General, other than for the fact that Bill Clinton nominated me, was who fought really hard for my nomination as Surgeon General was Ted Kennedy.
Whoa.
He fought harder for my nomination, and he'd see him, and he would say, in the hall before I was even Surgeon General, he'd see him, he said, there goes my Surgeon General. So
wow.
I had the utmost. People may have felt for whatever they felt, but had it not been for Ted Kennedy, I would have never been Surgeon General.
Well, you had people that believed in you for the right reasons. In every they were smart to stand up and say that. So
he did. He had to fight through the and I had some senators saying, but I would never be the Surgeon General.
And what did you say to yourself in those moments that persevered to the truth, that helped you get there?
I don't think I probably didn't appreciate all the things that that you have to go through. But I really now I look back and appreciate some of the senators who had to stand up and fight. But I didn't appreciate their fighting at the time. But I appreciated him at the time.
Yeah, sometimes that reflection reminds us of the fuel too.
Right, that's right.
The fuel that someone that didn't believe in you,
Right.
you can use it, the blessings of those that believe,
Right.
you'll never forget.
That's right.
And you'll always cherish, but also those that didn't know how to stand up or were living in fear may have fueled your fire.
Right.
And I mean, boy, did you burn through some some magic.
Well, of course, I guess at the time I didn't care.
Exactly. You just knew what was right.
I was having such a good time as health director here in Arkansas.
Yeah.
It didn't matter to me whether I became Surgeon General or not. I felt I had the best job in the world.
So great. So you did appreciate that at the time.
I did appreciate that, yes.
Yeah. I can only imagine how many people that have crossed your path that appreciate you.
Well, I had a good time. And then, there was I can't think of his name at this minute, but he worked really hard. He was our leading news director, evening newscaster. And he really did a good job. In fact, their station got the Murray Award.
Wow.
And they got several statues for what they had done. So.
Wow. I mean, just the stories after story. I do have another question.
Okay.
That's a fun one because I just had the privilege of meeting your husband,
Oh.
Coach. How did you two meet?
That's a story that you should get from him.
Oh,
but
he can come on over.
Yeah.
Well, no. I can't, but I can tell you
You tell me your version.
my version. I was invited over. He was the basketball coach at Horace Mann High School, and they had to have the basketball team examined before they could play a major basketball game that night. So they came over, and the university sent me to examine the basketball team. And when I got there, they weren't going to let me in because I was a woman. And
Whoa.
oh no, there women came up, but and so then so I finally told them, said, well, said, Coach, that lady said, if you didn't let her in, the team wouldn't be examined, and said, if you want that team examined today, you better let her in. So that was
already fighting for you. Yeah, let her in.
Let her in. And so then the team
Thank goodness.
weren't going to let me examine them. They weren't going to let no woman check them down below.
Oh.
And
Got it.
and so Coach finally decided, and he finally said, well, he said, well, if y'all, he said, I'll be first. I'll go first. And after he came and I examined him, but then they decided that they would let me examine them.
close examinations
Mhm.
were in deep
Well,
order.
see what they were really worried about. They wanted to make sure they didn't have hernias and things. So you
Right.
really had to do more than listen to their hearts and take their blood pressures.
What fun you had. So then you examined him, and then that was it?
I examined him, and then after he came out he came out smiling and told him,
Coach.
and then they came in. It was no problem. They all came round, lined up like little ducks, and we got it all done.
Got it all done. Yep, put me in, coach. That's so much fun. I love it. And do the two of you've been together for how long?
65. We got married in 1960.
Wow.
Since 1960. But we got married. We were married, and we only knew each other for less than 3 months.
Really?
Well, this was in November, and we got married February 14th.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's
What
Day.
a romantic.
I know. I told him so he would never forget. He's never remembered.
Coach. Gonna get his side soon enough.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Thank you for letting me sit on this love seat with you two.
Of course.
What a sweet thing.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna hear Coach's story.
Well, as she said, we were playing one of the most important basketball games that we could have played. It was for state championship. And there was a mandate came down from the superintendent that no basketball played, no kind of activity at all, unless they had been examined and they were in good working order. And it just tore us all apart. And the principal called who was it out there that he called?
The med center.
At the med center, and to send somebody. And who would they send? They sent this young, brash, quick-walking lady come out there wearing blue, and we were dressed down, getting ready for a practice because we were going to practice before the game. And then I was going to have them to go home and take a nap. That was our ritual.
Mm-hmm. Smart.
And so the door opened, and in walked a brash with sort of a switch to it. And
That's not what they want to know.
Yes, it is. A
Go ahead.
switch to it.
And so the first thing the manager came and said, "Coach, there's a lady up here." You say, and you know these boys are getting ready to have the physical, and they gonna be undressed all the way down to their G-string. I said, well, let me go up here and see what's going on. And when I got up there, she didn't move a bit. She looked me in my eyes and she told me, she said, well, if you want to play that basketball game tonight, you better let me examine them because I'm the doctor. And the boys heard it and they just fell out. Oh, we not gonna do that. And I was thinking about not coaching. And we thought about that for a while. And so the thing come to my mind. I told him, I said, well, how about me letting her examine me? I'm not going to play, but I'll let her examine me if you all play. Oh. So they had a meeting, and they came out and said, Coach, if you let her examine you, we'll let her examine us. And so I had a little office there, and I dozed her on in, and I looked back at the guys and smiled and winked, and they like to have a fit, and they had another fit when I came out because I was still smiling and I still winked at them. Only I winked more than once. And we got ready for the game, and she said, "Well, I don't. I live way out. Where was it?
At Alexander.
I live way out in Alexander, and I don't have a way to get out there, and you still don't have what you were looking for." And so I told her, I said, "Well, you tell me the way to get to Alexander, and I'm gonna come get you." And that's what I did. And from that day until this one, I've been making sure she got where she needed to be, when she needed to be there. And we were happier and happier every time we met. And I found out that she was Dr. Hughes. She was just his number one. And Dr. Pannas and all. And so I said, well, my goodness. And so she said, I'll come to the game if you come and get me. I got that little phone call. I said, well, I'll come and get you, but I didn't know where the place was.
Well, let's back up just a half a minute. In exchange for doing the exams of the boys, the Little Rock school system gave a pass. You got a pass to all the ball games. So I was given a pass to all the ball games, but and I said, you know, you have to come get me. And so that was the way it came about. He came to get me because, and so he came to get me for all the ball games.
That's what she thought.
Oh.
That was so beautiful. I'm crying. My favorite movie in the world is When Harry Met Sally, when they each tell their love story. So this is actually kind of my dream on the planet, to sit and witness a love story and just let myself cry. I do that. I've done that with that movie behind a screen in my own private little nook. But your story is one of the most beautifully moving love stories, and what beautiful things it truly you grew together. But just that simplicity of coming to get me, you know, just that consistency of being able to trust someone to pick you up, literally when you're lost or down or need a ride. It's really sacred. The simple abundance of your relationship is magic. Thank you for sharing your story.
Well, let me just say this. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I've enjoyed it from that day to this day. And We have had a few bumps in the road, as all marriages will at one time or another. But that's all it was just a bump. And we started making our plans, and we never lied to each other.
Dr. Elders has places to be. We got to get her going,
Right.
right? But and my tears keep flowing. So the poem, your poetry. Is there a poem you'd like to share about your beautiful wife?
It's the human touch in this world that counts. It's the touch of your hand and mine that would mean more to the perishing soul than is bread, shelter, or wine. Well, shelter's gone when the night is over, y'all, and bread will last only a day. But the touch of the hand and the sound of the voice will remain in the soul always. She has remained in my soul always, up until now. And I think I'll keep her.
Did you just write that?
No,
Okay.
I'll do another one if you like it.
Who was that?
Don't quit. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, and the path you trod seems all uphill, when funds are low and debts high, you want to smile, but all you can do is sigh, and life is pressing you down a bit. Rest if you must, but just don't you quit, because life is strange with its twists and turns, as all of us will at some time learn. And many a failure will come about when you may have won had you just stuck it out. So don't you quit when the road gets tough, because down the road you might have enough, but don't you quit.
You had
Okay.
one more that you wanted to do?
Yeah, don't quit. Keep going.
You said you had one more, right?
It's so good.
If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in them lies, or being hated, don't give way to those who hate, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can bear to hear the truth, you are outspoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, and yet watch the things you've given your life to broken, and then stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on a turn, a pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginning, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart, your nerves, and your sinews to serve their terms long after they're gone, and then hold on when there's nothing in you except the will that says, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, not lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much. If you can feel that unforgiven minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and all there is in it. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son, my buddy, or my friend, to the very, very end. Thank you.
Okay.
Gorgeous. You look beautiful.
Yeah, it's a pretty color.
We got it all. Okay.
In there. I heard he's a poet.
Well,
Welcome to Do Tell Belle. We are beyond grateful to be in celebration of Juneteenth with my dear friend Chrishaunda, and now my new dear friend Dr. Elders. What an honor and privilege to have just met you and to be sitting here meeting you again.
a pleasure.
Such a gift. And we both just flew out yesterday to come see you. And we're just so excited and grateful to be here.
Weather permitted, so it's God's grace.
Yes.
I was saying earlier, Dr. Elders, that a big production scare is if the team is flying from all different directions,
Yes.
trying to get at the same time. Someone's bound to miss.
Right.
Someone's bound to be delayed, yet we all made it.
That's right.
And I'm grateful to it. And I was the last to make it. We talked about it a little bit in the car about how I was changing in the car so I could make it and be presentable to you. And you gave me a little backstory yourself.
About how I changed from formal.
Yes.
Right?
Are you what? What happened?
Yes, please tell her.
Oh, I was invited to give a major, kind of a formal address in Memphis. But I had to catch a plane to go to Washington, D.C. And it was obviously the connection was very close. And so what I had to do is I had to change out of a formal gown and everything into flying a dress to fly to Washington.
Yes.
And be presented as the Surgeon General when I got to Washington.
I mean, different costume changes for different purposes.
That's right.
I'm
That's right.
myself for costume changing, and there's
Yes.
In the back seat of a car.
anywhere,
Many
and
times.
everywhere,
Yeah.
wherever I can find.
Yeah.
In the bush. And
Yep.
will do for me.
Well, see, I had to leave the stage and go to the car
Oh, to change.
to change.
Oh, my word. Well, I tell you, I didn't know that you led the charge on that, but I certainly followed your lead because I wanted to make sure. Dr. Elders, you would not have recognized me this morning when I got off the plane. I wanted to be recognizable as a person. So that's why I did that. I told my kids, make sure you look like a person. Don't look like something else. So it's an honor to be here. I'm grateful to have made it. And I have read about you since a little girl, younger person. And just the things that you've done. And I happen to have been reading about you more, and I've learned so many other things about you in Dr. Sunny Whedon's portrait of you. Phenomenal portrait, and just a world of information in terms of how you started, your road to get here, and then how things transitioned and what the bold, can you talk to us more about the bold statement that you made that made it all, that sort of blew the roof off?
I'm not sure which one you're
Well,
talking
there's so many. There's so many.
You blew off a lot.
That's great. Well, the statement that you made when you were asked about is masturbation
Oh.
a good deterrent to sexually transmitted diseases?
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you ask me, when we talk about sexually transmitted, we're talking about teenage pregnancy,
Yes.
sexually transmitted diseases,
Yes.
and satisfaction,
Absolutely.
And
You're
and
such a woman. Oh my goodness, my gracious.
and so to talk about, I think masturbation is a wonderful relief for all of that.
Wow.
And you're the only person I know that I think of. When we talk about all of the people in the world, especially who've never masturbated.
Yes.
I was talking. Well, the world would turn green.
Absolutely.
We'd all be the color of the.
This is after hours with Dr. Elders. That's great. That's
Be
great.
the color of the president's swimming pool right now.
Mm-hmm.
That turned green related to all the lime juice and.
Oh yes, indeed. Well,
But I think that I really feel that masturbation has been a wonderful relief
yes,
for sexual feelings for both men and women. But before for a long while, it was thought only men masturbated.
Yes.
But now we know that, it's a wonderful relief for both men and women. Remember in the olden days when they used to have these belts and
Yeah, oh my word.
belt and
Chastity
beds
belts
and
yeah.
chastity belts and
Yes,
all
ma'am.
to keep girls from touching themselves. And so I think that,
Shouldn't be shamed.
no.
And they needed to explore it. And so you said this aloud when you were asked, and when I'm reading about it, you were asked pretty, just casually, and you responded casually, but it blew the roof off because how dare you, a woman, say such liberating things about yourself. And today's time, when you think about the women today, and I'm sure you're very aware, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Nobody's afraid to say it. You see it in the videos, you see it on television, to the degree that sometimes we have to shield our kids' eyes from it. So it's everywhere. But you were a pioneer.
Well, I'm not sure I was necessarily a pioneer, but I probably talked about it more openly.
That's what I mean.
And more open
Yes, ma'am.
venues than it was often talked about and spoken about.
Yes, ma'am.
At that time. You just didn't say that was just you didn't say masturbation. That was not something you didn't even admit it existed. And so now, I think people are admitting that it exists. And far as I'm concerned, would you rather your teenager masturbate and be pregnant?
Yes. Yes.
And I mean, if she wants to be pregnant, that's one thing. I'm not talking about the ones who want to, but not many teenagers I know and knew at the time want to be pregnant at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, but I just think that this is a wonderful sexual relief.
Yes.
That they can get without engaging in overt sex, and so that's just. And we can talk about it, and we can tell our children about it.
Yes.
We can admit that it's
Yes.
okay, and
It's okay.
rather than all this "don't touch yourself."
Yes.
And
Well, I mean, Belle and I are recipients of that liberation, and we do consider you a pioneer in the discussion about it, because there's a woman who gets a lot of credibility for being open about sexual liberation for women, Dr. Ruth White.
Oh yes,
of course.
I know.
I'm
met
sure
Dr.
that
Ruth and
you're kindred in this capacity.
yes.
But here's another woman who, again, as a Black woman, Dr. Ruth was famous for helping liberate women.
Yes.
But when you talk about Black women and the fact that it's a very touchy subject, sex with Black women, because we're considered sapphires and Jezebels, and that we're just really overly sexual, which is not always the truth. We're sensual,
right.
and but the perception of Black women is very different.
That's right.
So it's a slippery slope for a Black woman to say, touch yourself, to women who already are being seen as harlots just because of the skin color.
Right, that's right.
But you found a way to help us understand that there is no shame in that,
That's
to
right.
Belle's
None.
point. So we thank you for that. I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but I promise you, Dr. Whedon's book, that was one of the things that struck out. I didn't even know that you had done that. I thought, wow. So amongst all the other things that you've contributed to our country, to our world, I think Belle mentioned earlier, it's a world thing.
We talk about that, and I probably got involved in I was taking care of a lot of teenage. One of the things we had the highest teenage pregnancy rate in the industrialized world in Arkansas. I was taking care of a lot of teenagers who was pregnant, who had diabetes, and so what we told the children what I would tell the girls is, you can have as many babies as you want, but you're gonna have them when I want you to have them. And well, that was, what I'm saying is we're going to talk about contraception. We're going to wait until, and I said, and I'll tell you when I feel your diabetes is well enough controlled. And the parents at that time you weren't supposed to talk to parents. Parents. And I tell, I said, you want your parents to be, and they said, oh no, ma'am, that's all right. And they would come, and they were really very grateful, And I would tell them, I said, I want you to have 2 healthy babies. I said, but you got to have them when I want you to have them.
So where does that come from? I mean, I'm so marveled by you're tenacious. You are just, where you come from, your history, and you're coming from a time where nobody is affirming your voice. How does that happen? I mean, you know of people who, I read a story about Condoleezza Rice,
Right.
and great respect for Condoleezza Rice,
Oh, yes.
and about
Me
how
too.
she in part has her courage and could go and ascend to these heights in politics because she had the type of parents who affirmed her in Mississippi. I think it was Mississippi where she's from, or someplace in the South.
Yeah, right.
But one of the instances was she was going to prom or some dressed up event. And this is still when segregation for blacks can shop, and whites cannot, or can shop. Her parents paid the storekeeper so that she didn't have to feel discriminated against. They kept the store open after hours, and the store that typically only sold or served white people served her. So in her mind, she didn't have that line of discrimination, and that kind of thing helped to build a sense of confidence. But for you, you were not growing up at a time where people were doing that. So where does that come from?
And my parents didn't have the money for me to do that anyway.
Right.
And it was very poor, so we didn't have them.
Yes, ma'am. I'm just curious, where does that come from? Where does that come from? I can't keep saying the same question.
I know you keep asking, where did that? But I think probably, if anything, it was from my grandma Minnie. My grandma Minnie was a very firm woman. When it was time for me to go to college, when I graduated from high school, I was 15, and she told me, she says, well, you can go to college. And I said, well, we don't have the money. And my daddy was saying, well, we can't send you to college because we don't have the money. You have to stay here and help us on the farm. My grandma Minnie, she says, oh, you go on, honey. I remember so clearly her saying, she said, you go on, honey. She said, I got enough young'uns whose shoulders for you to stand on, for you to make it. And this is my father's mother. And my father's mother was only 13 when she got married.
Those were days.
Those were back in the old.
Yes, ma'am. So you worked your way through college. So you were in college at 15. I mean, that's unprecedented for any race. It's just, who's going to college that young? I don't care if you're white or polka dot. That's very early. So you go into college at 15, and then you worked your way. You were working as a janitor, or you worked as some type of custodial? Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And then you still graduate early.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, what I did, I started out. I was very fortunate, and the Philander Smith College here in Little Rock, they gave me a scholarship, and I started out working as I was the maid for the floor, for the dormitory, but it was the girls' dormitory, and somebody had to clean the floor, and somebody had to do things, and so that was what I was doing, and I was very fortunate, and a lady, and I'll never from her grandson, nephew was a judge here, but she was a United Methodist member of United Methodist, and she hired me to come and work as a maid for her. And I did. This is my second year in college, and I went to work. And the main thing I did, she had two daughters, twins, and she didn't want, and she was living in this big house at number 2 Armistice Road. It's still out there. And but she didn't want to die and be there and be dead for several days before anybody knew she was dead. And so she wanted me to stay there, but she had a nice, maid's quarters, which had a bedroom, bathroom, and the kitchen was right out from that. So it was, compared to where I lived before, it was almost like living in a high price hotel. But it was a very nice, I had this lovely room with the bathroom, closet, and everything. And right out from that was the hallway and the kitchen, right there. And then she lived upstairs in this house. And so, but the thing I did is I made sure every morning I fixed her breakfast. Well, that was nothing for me, because, and I fixed her breakfast and served her breakfast, and and then she let me say, arrange your classes so that you can get through school, and so it could catch the bus, and so I arranged my classes so that so I had my classes in the morning. I would usually get back home about 2 or 3 o'clock, and she and fixed dinner. But she never worried about our fixing dinner, because half the time what we had may have been bologna sandwiches. And I remember one of the most embarrassing times, but she was having this big fancy party. Anytime she was having a big party, she always had fancy people to come in and put on the party and give. She was gonna have ham and biscuit sandwiches. Well, we thought in the country, ham and biscuit was, that was pretty ordinary. Well, she was serving at this fancy with this. It was really with the cream of Little Rock. It was all the big wigs of Little Rock was coming over for this big cocktail party, and she was serving ham and cured ham and biscuits sandwiches. I'm sure she had some other things, but I remember I was just really embarrassed that she was having that.
I mean, it seems it's like you ascended because you didn't let pride get in the way, and you had a vision and a goal for yourself, and you had your grandmother's blessing.
Yeah.
And so you paid attention to those breadcrumbs. I consider my life full of breadcrumbs. And you just see this little breadcrumb and you go, it's not what you want, but it's a little something. So if you hold on, you grab on, it'll sustain you for this moment. And then you can go on a little bit, and then you get another breadcrumb, you sustain, you go on. My entire life has been breadcrumbs. When I think about all the luminaries that I herald, it seems as if you inspire me, because that is how you all have done it. And some people don't have an opportunity to be where they can be, or where they could be, should be, because they perceive things differently. They go, well, if this isn't happening right now, like this, it's not going to happen.
And and this was the way, but she was wonderful. And at my graduation, I graduated from Philander Smith. The only 3 people at my graduation was that lady and her 2 daughters.
Wow.
Well, you know who was there for me?
Yes, ma'am. I don't. Yeah. And you press on because you had a goal.
And, because I had a goal and I felt,
Yes, ma'am.
and you know, and she always made me feel real proud. She was a United Methodist woman, and she was always pushing forward. And even when I graduated from medical school, things were a little bit different. But I remember the white lady who lived down the lane from us. My dad worked on his farm, and he worked on his farm. And I remember she was very proud. She had girls and daughters. I think she had 5 children or something. And she was so proud. She says, "Oh yes," she was telling somebody. She said, that's one of my little nigger girls." But it didn't. I felt that she was very proud of me, and she was bragging to somebody else about who I was.
Yes, ma'am. And that was how you chose to take it.
And that's how I chose to take it.
And it was a choice. Because again, you could have taken it a different way.
No, I
chose-
didn't.
you
I
chose-
felt that she was proud of me.
I believe she was.
I do. To
And back
this
then
day,
there
I feel
wasn't-
she was proud
And
of
back
me.
then there wasn't really any affirming terms for us. There was only that word.
That's right.
And so it really wasn't about the word as much as it was the cadence of the
Right,
word.
right.
So if someone said nigger, or they say, "This is my nigger," there's a pride that comes along with the heightened tone.
No, but her feeling was, "Oh, that's one of my little nigger girls."
Yes. Yeah. There was no other word, but it was the cadence that made the difference. Yeah. I mean, this is, I think about young Black people today, now that we're in the space of this incredible time of Juneteenth. And I think so much more would be accomplished if younger people knew. Because I know that I'm no smarter than anybody.
Right.
But because I know,
Right.
only reason why is because I know. That is why I press on, because I've listened to the elders, I've listened to the stories, and I paid attention. I was made to pay attention because my grandmother was not going to have it. My paternal grandmother was not having it any other way. So I had to listen, and then it gets into the bone marrow, it gets into your system, and so you pay attention. But so many of our young Black kids particularly, and lots of white kids too, there's an entitlement with white kids Black kids don't have. White kids ascend because of skin color, but they would also be much farther along if they knew.
Right.
They knew about the John Browns. They knew about those people who really made a difference in history that looked like them. And it's not just about me being white and I can get this job. You would really be busting your butt because you would know from where you came. Black kids who don't have the opportunity to ascend for race or for color of skin, if they knew, they'd work so much harder. And it's not their fault. It's just that the way our world is, it's the awareness. And so I'm just grateful to be on this platform with Belle and telling the Do Tell moment with Dr. Joycelyn Elders, because may this conversation go far and wide because people get to know.
I just love to say that it's such an honor to listen. I had an experience when I was in 2nd grade where my mother, we had moved to the South from living in New York, and she's from Augusta, Georgia, and we were called home. Her grandmother on my grandmother's deathbed said, "Those girls need roots and clay, not shale. Bring them on home to the South."
That's a quote.
And she's a whole
Wow.
lot of quotes. My mama and her mother, who was named Mimi, and she had a Minnie too, which I was just hearing and feeling. I've been going to your house today, the lineage of that deep-rooted Southern charm and the character and the connection to the land, and it felt like home. And but so I felt very integrated by the time I guess it was 10, and I was in second grade. We just moved to the South, and I had no idea what segregation or racism was until I learned about Martin Luther King and the death and the whole thing. And I got home that day and I said, did you know, to my mom, did you know this was happening? And she said, darling, I lived through it. Like, of course I knew. And I went in my room, locked my room door. I just did not come out for a day, maybe two. And I think that was my first act of activism, where I just couldn't believe that she could live in a world that had allowed that and that she didn't do anything about it. I came out saying, what did you do? And she said, what could I have done? And I understand it on one perspective, but still there's this thing in me that just always wants to rise in any way to honor the very soil and energy that raised me. My mother's team of angels that were around her, and they're my angels too. And so I just feel so blessed and privileged to be someone invited in on this conversation, because I take that as a big privilege. I've taken several days to feel the depth and honor of being able to sit with such legends. And thank you. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Well, we grew up in, obviously, there is no such thing in the South that you weren't in a kind of a segregated community, but it wasn't segregated on a farm out in the country on a farm. It wasn't segregated like it is in the city. Because you had, my dad had his farm. Everybody had their little plots of land and all around. And my dad always worked very, very hard. My dad was obviously very smart, Everybody kind of looked up to Curtis when they wanted to know something. They would come to Curtis to find out.
Wow.
And even later on, they felt that many young people down in Shaw today said, "Oh, Curtis taught me this. We went to Kurt." But that was just the way it was, But nobody didn't feel that he didn't really work really hard from sun up to sundown. But we all worked from sun up to sundown too.
Yeah, there's a common thread, and I think that even though technology has shown up in some of the most beneficial ways and in some of the worst ways.
Yes.
It's a slippery slope again.
Yes.
I think that it's important to hold on to that foundation. This is a once in a lifetime experience that Belle and I are having that we will hold on to forever.
For sure.
And it's not lost on me that I was saying just how I felt divine. Belle's always talking about the divine moments, and this is how we bond because we very much believe in this. And one of the most challenging things in production for her beloved, supremely efforted producer, Elizabeth, trying to get everybody in the same one place at the same time. And then I have kids and Belle has kids, and how are you going to do this? It's not where you can literally just say everybody's going to get on the 2 o'clock to calm Elizabeth's nerves, to make sure everybody gets there. So in this particular case, Belle had some things. I have my children. Elizabeth trying to get there before everyone with the team. And I, coming from television to a degree and coming from production, I understood her. I empathized greatly with her potential stress about it all. But I prayed a lot. And I said, I think this is supposed to be. And even though I got notices from the airline that said, at the top of the week, you're going to have a challenge. You may want to change your flight. I mean, I was getting these notes all this week, and I just ignored them. I said, if this was going to be, it's going to be. And I tell you, by God's grace, I text Belle. I say, did you make it? First, she's, we're all on different legs. And where are you now? I'm in Texas. Where are you now? I'm in Atlanta. Where are you now? Elizabeth, I mean, all the things. And then finally, it was one by one. Elizabeth has shown up. Belle says, we made it. And then it's, I just got here. We got 20 minutes. And then there was that whole, let's change in the car to make sure that I was presentable for you. But the point is, we all showed up presentable for you.
What we're talking about my grandfather when I don't know all the background of what happened before, but he was probably a teenager, and he was in Georgia, and I don't know if he had a fight or killed somebody or something, but anyway, he was in Georgia, and he was going to be, I don't know, lynched or hanged or whatever. Yeah, he was a slave at the time. And so either the slave owner or something, I don't know that part of the story, but they put him in a trunk and put him and bored holes in the trunk, put him on a train, and it arranged for some friends they had in I forget the name of the little place in Arkansas, to take him. They were going to have him, the train was going to be unloaded there. And then they were to take him off. They were to come to the train station and pick him up and get him off the train. And so that was how he got from Georgia being lynched to it was not Hickory Road, but it was someplace in southwest Arkansas.
That's straight out of a movie. I've seen that scene so many times in films, but your family actually lived that. So that's coming from someplace.
That's coming from someplace.
Real.
And my grandfather, and they took him off the train.
In that trunk.
In the trunk. And
then he married Minnie, right?
And then he married my grandmother.
Oh my goodness, my gracious. The Minnie who told you to press on and go on and get your education.
The Minnie, and see, he was probably 18 or 19. I think he was younger, but she was 13 or 14. She was quite young. And but it was the Minnie who told me to, and they had 13 children. And she told me, she says, go on, honey, and go on to college. She says, I've got enough young'uns whose shoulders you can stand on for you to make it.
Wow.
And they did, I remember one of my young uncles who was in service, Uncle Reed, he made out of an allotment to pay for my tuition. Not my tuition. My tuition was paid. The philanderer was giving me a scholarship to pay for my room and board, but we had to pay $8 a month. $8 a month on my room and board. And in order for me to get to Philander, even after I was given the scholarship, my sisters and brothers was out picking cotton to get money for my bus fare to get to Little Rock.
I read that.
And the bus fare was like $13.43 or something like that. And they picked money for me to have the bus fare.
Wow.
To get. And I tell people all the time about to go home for Christmas. I had no money. I think we maybe had, I think 38 cents or whatever it was. But I didn't have the 3 cents. I had the money for the box of Baby Ruth candy. that I was buying for my sisters and brothers, but I didn't have enough money to pay for the taxes. And I'll never, and I always forget, I didn't know her name or anything. I was over on the, that was when they had black bus side and white bus side, black and white. And so I guess I was on the black side, looking pitiful. And she looked over, and I didn't have the 3 cents, and I was having to put it back, the candy. And I remember she said, "Here, I've got 3 pennies." And she gave me the 3 pennies for that. And I'll never forget that. But I tell young people who work with me and for me that they always say, like they go around and say, "Don't ever see a penny on the floor."
That's right.
"And don't pick it up."
That's right.
Said, "Miss Elders, I have a fit."
That's right.
Because she feels
Changes your life.
that's right.
That's right.
That pennies are really important.
That's right.
And I probably have more pennies than the bank right now.
Well, that's good because they're not making any more.
I know
we may
it.
have to go to your house and ask you for some.
Yeah, that's right. I have buckets. I have what they call molasses buckets full of pennies.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. May I share with you a penny story?
Yes.
So this reminds me of my stepfather who raised me, and we were really poor living in Milwaukee. And this is when we had penny candy.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get 11 pieces of candy for 11 cents. I mean, that could last you for like 3 days. You can't get anything for a quarter nowadays. But you could get a penny candy. And I remember coming home from school and just going in my bedroom and knowing that I had 11 pennies, literally 11 pennies. And I was so embarrassed to go to the store and use those pennies because I thought the kids would make fun of me because I had pennies. All the other kids had nickels and dimes. They had silver.
Right.
The penny was like looked down upon depending on who you are. And we were all poor in the neighborhood. It's like, you don't have any more money than I do, but you had nickels. So people thought they were doing better off. When we go to the corner store, I don't go to the corner store. I say to my dad, I said, I want to go to the store, but I'm embarrassed to give them the pennies. My stepfather said to me, he says, "Let me tell you something. I don't have any nickels to give you because I've spent all the money on the bills. And I learned this, it's better to be broke than in debt. I don't owe one person, but I don't have any money, but I don't owe anybody." He told me that. And I said, okay, that stuck with me. But he said, let's walk down to the corner store. He took me down to the corner store and I had those pennies tight in my hand and I knew all those little kids were going to be circling the front and it was going to say, "Chrishaunda had pennies. There must be poorer than us," which is like, what does that mean? But it means something when you're little. And he said, "Put them on the counter." And so I was hush, trying to do it discreetly. I put those 11 pennies and then the man behind the counter told me to choose what I wanted. They had the glass, you open up, you can take one out. So I had a little brown paper bag and I'm putting one in this and this. And then the little tiny brown bag was half filled. And I paid that money. And on the way back home, my dad said, "Tastes like candy, doesn't it?" I totally forgot that I spent pennies. But he just gave me that sense of, it doesn't matter. Just be grateful that you have it.
Right.
And he's like, it's the same thing. Like, even if you spent 2 nickels and a penny, the same candy tastes like candy, doesn't it? Never forget that. So it just made me think of that story.
Well, I think it was my lucky penny kind of a day when I sat next to you and felt so rooted in the energy of the South, of the energy of turnips and connection.
We had no idea,
had
Belle.
instant connection. And
We had no idea.
it somehow led us here and to get to be part of your storytelling. I think that's also something else we share is the art of storytelling as writers, as collectors of stories and voices, specifically with women, but also all voices, like listening to your husband recite poetry, collecting these voices and watching this movement that feels like a chain reaction of liberation. It's one after the other. Like these stories where you talked about the shame of masturbation, the shame of these old sexual shamed concepts are now being composted.
Right.
they have to be composted so something else can grow from that place of shame that doesn't belong in the body
That
anymore.
part.
It
That
never
part.
belonged.
That part.
And so
Yes,
I'm
indeed.
excited to watch what's going to be growing together, from Turnip Sisters to your beautiful, brilliant film. And I'm just really, really honored to sit beside you both and to walk through this time together.
I tell
Thank
you.
you so much for
Well, thank you.
having me.
You know, anybody who knows me knows I'm always talking.
She's so much my mama.
This is, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say, though. I'm trying not to be emotional.
I told her, and I was
I'm trying not to be
I was so
Right,
proud.
you. I know.
just very grateful.
You're here.
Very grateful for this
Aw,
moment, Dr.
this is-
Elders. If anybody knows me, knows that I'll shed a tear. So,
Another sisterhood thing. That's all I do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bill, this is this what you created, and I don't know where I want to get you on the hot seat and go, where did this come from? The same questions I would ask Dr. Elders. Where did this come from? Because I've seen some of the interviews, and some of these podcasts, this is so off the record or what have you, but some of these podcasts have a theme. They'll have a type of programming, and you can kind of expect. You look at Joe Rogan, you know what I mean? For example, you say, okay, you kind of have an idea of who they're going to have on, and they're probably not going to have this person on. You are literally a tapestry. You're like a Faith Ringgold. You're like a Faith
best.
Ringgold quilt. Because on one
What
moment,
Ringgold quilts?
Faith Ringgold,
Oh,
you must have one in
Yes.
your life. It's a poster,
We gotta-
because, but she's the queen of tapestry, of quilting, and telling stories through this tapestry. And so you're literally quilting. You're quilting.
I hope you're still recording.
Yeah.
Because
And
that's my dream, is to be. So a few years ago, I was told I was going to be known by a psychic as the web sensation. And I was like,
Interesting.
what is she talking about? In the midst of a divorce. And I thought she had literally had the wrong person. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't even open the web, like the internet.
Right.
She's like,
Totally.
she's like,
I
you'll have a
relate.
website. And I did later. She's like, not that kind. She's like, you web in life, like a
Aha.
spider.
That makes sense.
And that's why I have so much respect for the ancient, like, wisdom and the ancestry.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my aunts, I had a mini,
Mm-hmm.
and I can, talking about all of this, I can feel my hands in their gardens. I can smell their chocolate chip cookies. I can feel the stories and the way they raised me. And I have such respect for those women. And yeah, see, I tear up all the time about it.
And this is where you will end up, because you're talking to another Leo. She's a Leo too. She's one of those.
You're a Leo?
Yes.
Oh boy, what's your birthday?
August 13th.
Oh, that's an ominous day. 8/13.
Yes, indeed.
July 29th.
Oh,
We're 2 weeks apart.
Exactly 2 weeks apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is just once in a lifetime.
Welcome back. I've been tearing up and listening to all the Do Tell Belle stories. And this is just such an honor to still be with you, Dr. Elders. I'm really touched and so grateful to see the legacy lives on, and to meet one of your students. And incredible.
Right?
All of her fans are coming in.
Yeah.
We've got a big fan
Definitely,
club.
definitely.
We're in a bookshop in, I'm like, where are we? Arkansas, Little Rock.
Oh, yes.
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
We're still celebrating. It was yesterday and it's every day. So please, will you share a little bit about your relationship to each other?
I would love to. You want me to start out?
You can start out.
Okay.
See, I've probably forgotten more than.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I definitely remember, and it is just important that we're doing this on this day, if that makes sense. Dr. Elders knew me before I knew myself.
And that's the truth.
I always say that. I was a teenager going through a summer program at UAMS. Dr. Elders was faculty at UAMS, and I got to be a student in her lab. Now, God knows what I was doing, Dr. Elders, probably nothing, but it was my first time.
We loved having students. You know, we just lost Dr. Kilgore.
Yes.
And
yes.
so nothing that we enjoyed more than having students. In fact, that was the best part of our year.
Well, Dr. Elders' story incorporates just about every doctor in the state of Arkansas and probably a significant number around the nation. And I don't say that lightly. It was the first time, Dr. Elders, I think I told you this before, first time I saw an African-American doctor. You know, in the hospital, you know, you got the pecking order. You got the long coats, you got the short coats, and then you got students in these coats. Dr. Elders was running the show down the hall from the clinical space to the research space, and I was just in awe. So that was my first experience, and I was like, who is this woman? I want to be like that. And then at the same time, Dr. Elders came and spoke at my church. Okay? A woman, Baptist, in Baptist church in the pulpit, that was something different too. But I was like, who is this? And we have developed a relationship down through the years, from going to medical school to residency. She wrote a recommendation for me in residency, to my master's program. And her experience, her life from the policy level, politics, and policy level down to the individual level is exactly what I do and the core of who I am. And Dr. Elders, I just want to say this to you again. Thank you, because my whole point is to pour into other people to continue this. And that's what you've done. And I take every opportunity to say thank you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, every time I get a chance, I'm always bragging about my women that I feel that I've touched and made a difference and brought along. And I talk about how well they've done. I'm always so proud of them. And those who've really done really well in science or medicine or whatever. And I brag about how I give them all A's.
I know what you're going to say next. Go ahead and say it. I know what you're going to say.
You know what I'm going to say next.
Yes, ma'am.
And Crenshaw has been, I gave them A's and F's. A's for their wonderful scientific development and all that, and F's in men. and until very recently,
I get an A.
You got an F in men.
Yeah. But
now she's got an A.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you, Dr. Elders.
But she's got enough F's. Whoa.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm proud of it. I'm proud. I was proud. I was proud of your A's and upset about your F's. But I didn't mind talking about it.
Yeah. No, she definitely didn't. But Dr. Elders, your example, I always tell people, everybody has a Dr. Elders story. So in her telling her story, she's in everybody else's story in some way, shape, or form. You think?
One way.
One way. You are, definitely. Definitely.
No, but when she went to Georgetown, all the things she's done, she's just done many wonderful. She's got a lot of A's.
Yeah, but Dr. Elders, I am standing on the shoulders of a giant, and I want people to understand that and understand the history and this whole event.
But I'm bragging when I talk about all my A's.
Yeah, but I'm bragging on you.
But I'm also kicking.
Yes, you are.
When I talk about my F's.
You are.
And I'll brag now that I'm getting When you get married, you'll get an A.
Okay. All right.
Right now,
So I'm still on the cusp there.
you're on the cusp. You
Okay. All right.
they all know I say that. And some of them have even gotten married and gotten divorces, and they've gotten C's and F's. But I brag about their accomplishments.
You know, and she has always been integral in all parts of life, personal and professional. And that's important. And I think that's what gives me hope for the future, even in this tumultuous time that we're in. The cadre of people that have come through here to say hello to you gives me hope for the future, gives me hope that there's a group of us and we're training another group
That's right.
that's going to continue.
That's right. Make sure
And that's
you
the
don't
story.
make sure you train them.
That's the story. And that's the connection. And Dr. Crenshaw's work is critical and part of that.
You know how you said that she knows you better or knew you before you knew yourself? If anyone had that incredible description of this iconic woman, I feel like everything you just said painted the perfect picture of how I would dream to describe her, or how I would dream to know someone of this level. Like you so exquisitely honored who you came here to honor. And it's obvious that this work will keep rippling through you. There's no question. And I just feel really privileged to watch it.
Oh, well, she'll do a good job.
Oh, yeah.
He knows I'm proud of her. Her dad knows I'm proud of her.
Tell us about your dad.
So my dad was in the Clinton administration. He worked with Clinton for 20 plus years here in Arkansas, and the transition team when he went to the White House. And I do think when Dr. Elders was appointed Surgeon General,
Yes.
he was Director of Presidential Personnel at the White House at that time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So not only, it's really interesting to know someone personally and then also know them professionally. So when she was appointed Surgeon General and I knew Dr. Elders, everybody was like, whoa, but I just know Dr. Elders. So we have been intimately connected for a very long time. And then when I went to do my master's in public health at Harvard, she wrote a letter. So it's just been tracking the whole time, and her poise, her passion, her commitment to what she stands for, no matter what, is important.
I've been proud of you. I tell the truth. Sometimes
Exactly.
it's painful.
And I hope to have the courage that you have shown throughout all of this, because that's what we all need. The courage to do what we're called to do at the time we're called to do it. And she did, and does. And does.
Amen. So it is. And you do.
Yeah, and you do too.
Thank you.
I'm trying.
And your dad's worked very hard.
Yes, he has.
No, he really has stood up a lot. And I tell people, a lot of people, I said, without people like your dad, I said, but I tell everybody that I would have never been Surgeon General. Well, obviously Clinton had to appoint me, but had it not been for Ed Kennedy. And, nobody would have ever picked that out. But it was Ed Kennedy who pulled me through all the...
The confirmation?
Yes. Through the goats.
Yeah.
And there were a few goats.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like there are a lot of them.
But I didn't count them all, but...
Yeah. Yeah.
Legends.
And So yeah, I'm just glad to be here with you today.
Well, I'm proud of what you're doing. Keep doing it. I brag about it all the time. See, now I have to brag about that you finally moved out of the F class.
How did I know you were going to circle back? How did I know that?
Because you knew how strongly I felt about it.
Yeah.
I wanted them all to be, the bright, intelligent women who made a difference in the world, but I wanted them all to be women.
And I'm just one. I can count many, many, many other ones, and we stay in contact. We're on speed dial because we're like, where's Dr. Elders? She okay? What's going on? Go out to the house.
In fact, when the first time when the virus was going, I want you to know she came out and made sure I got my shots, and she bought me soup to keep me going.
Yep.
So
We're all on speed dial.
I
yeah,
can feel that. You've got a tribe.
I do.
Warriors all around.
All around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
And we can be
angels.
overly protective at
Right.
times.
With good reason. You're protecting. Yeah.
And they do.
Someone sacred.
Exactly.
I get it.
Exactly.
I get it. I know. I feel like my mother, when I was little, would always tell me stories about her mother's mother and that legacy of that, and how she would go out to the farm and get the chicken eggs and just that connection to farm and woman and land and ancestry. So I grew up really knowing what it was like to love my grandmother and love like us in a southern realm, really in a Georgia, southern, and then North Carolina and South Carolina, all around the South.
Right.
But I got the richness of the roots of the women. And so I know how you love her, and I get it and respect it and share it, because it's my Mimi, my grandmother. I would do anything for her. Her mother was Nanny. My mother would do anything. Talked about her the way she smelled like stock, just like those visceral, the roots of the magnolia tree. These moments of the South that just, I haven't been in a long time. I had a bite of grits this morning. I'm still tearing up from the grits, right? Literally the grits of the South, and like the roots of the women of the South. And it just, I mean, I may have had 3 hours of sleep, but it has nothing to do with this. It just is the grits and the grace of the women here. And then I've been like flashing back to things like the S&S in Augusta, Georgia, their cafeteria, and it was like this chain, and we went through and we knew everybody's name, and we went every Sunday, and just like these moments about the rituals of being, where to eat, who to connect with. There's something so sacred about this place, and I'm really lucky to be here on such an important day, and a weekend like Juneteenth. Like, this is a really, I kept saying to my fiance, this is one of the honors of my life, because I loved the people that, also my mother that raised her, that then raised me, and I had nothing but love and respect and awe.
Yeah.
So it's just a privilege.
I think the theme that I'm hearing in the discussions is this interconnectedness.
Yes.
Interconnectedness across people, across cultures, but also across time, and sharing those stories.
Yes.
I mean, that's what we need. And connection.
That's it.
Connection. In that tapestry.
Exactly.
How did I do with that one? There we go. It's a tapestry.
It is.
That's exactly what it is.
Yes.
Really, I shared with Kimberlé the entire process that I had. Also, my own shame piece of not having that privilege of being the special princess
and my road of challenge being that, and also being so isolated and lonely.
Yeah.
And just sharing that come around each place as far opposite sides of our house.
Yeah.
But in Little Rock, in this wild moment in time of Juneteenth, and with everybody traveling from other places to get here to have these conversations, I love that we just had a kitchen chat.
Yeah.
Because I was sharing that part of what Thor and Rosa brought up for me with that wanting to feel special, and then in feeling special, feeling isolated, feeling alone. Also having that experience of traveling around, moving to the South when I was in second grade, sharing with Kimberlé when I found out in second grade that Martin Luther King, who he was, how he had been killed, what the injustice of it all, that I came home to tell my mother, who was from Augusta, Georgia, the story, like it was news to her, telling her like it was the first time she'd ever heard it, and sobbing hysterically, and so sad and devastated by this information. After sharing this with her, she said, yes, I know, I lived it. And because I said, how could this be? And when I understood that she knew about it and didn't do anything about it, so to speak, I locked myself in my room for 2 days and probably realized that was the first moment of maybe that sparked my activism.
Mm-hmm.
And in second grade little body, that was just not okay. I'd grown up in New York, had lived in California, and then saw the divide in the South, and no part of me was okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was sharing what an honor it is to come face to face after days of you being with me with the book and reflecting on my early childhood relationship around racism and the divide, and how uncomfortable it made me feel, and how important it is to have these uncomfortable conversations.
We had many different moments of almost like a looking glass kind of situation, although, and like a looking glass, it's a little bit the opposite, but it's the same. So we talked about moments of being disconnected with the kids around us, partly because of ways in which we were held out as being different or special from the rest of us. So in my context, both my parents were school teachers, and they were strict disciplinarians on top of that. So, and my mom had many generations of students, and her father basically delivered most of Black Canton. So when I was born already in relationship to people that everybody knew. And my struggle was just to be me, right? To be myself. And I think as kids want to do, when kids grow up hearing about somebody or hearing about somebody's family or whatever, they're not always going to be nice about it. They're not always going to be, I really want to be your friend. They're more likely to say, you think you're so this, you think you're so that. And I was devastated by this. And my mom would get really angry at me because she felt like I was ashamed of the family. And, ours is not a family to be ashamed of. One day you'll see. And that used to make me so mad, because it's like, I don't care about one day in the future. In fact, when you say that, that reinforces exactly the negative attitude that a lot of my friends who want to be friends, have about me. I don't want to be set out, in this way. So I think my thinking of it was, I'm not ashamed of you all, but I don't want to be seen through my relationship to you. They were thinking you should be proud of your relationship to us. We're pillars of the community, all that kind of stuff. So we started talking about that kind of, similarity. But what really got us to the question that we started to talk about was, I wonder what Belle would have wanted her mom to say when you asked her, did you know about this? And what did you do about it? And then, I mean, there are many reasons that's interesting to me, but perhaps the most salient one right now is that a lot of the censorship of work that I do in K through 12, a lot of my work is being censored in K through 12. A lot of work about the history that we are here to talk about is being attacked by organizations like Moms for Liberty, who say that teaching the truth about Selma or about Ruby Bridges or about the Montgomery bus boycott is divisive, and it's designed to make little white kids feel guilty and feel bad. My theory all along has been the real concern is the parents don't want to be made to feel bad, and they don't know how to answer the question that 8-year-old or 9-year-old Belle had to ask. And because there's this recognition that this is a real difficult conversation, but rather than having conversations about, okay, what should parents who lived through that say? How do they grapple with, it was part of the world that I just, was part of, and either I didn't think about it, or I didn't think I could do anything about it, or I did do something about it. We could have conversations about how to do that, but we don't. The conversations we have are, how do we get rid of this stuff so we aren't called into that conversation? So the reason why I asked you that is I thought, well, maybe if we could model what it might sound like, or give people some inspiration from the baby you. Here's what mom could have said, or here's what other parents could say, without running from the conversation. Maybe if we can give people more, there's less of a desire to erase this history or censor those of us who are telling it.
That's really stunningly beautiful, everything you said, because it's exactly what I think I needed is what I wanted was to be held in my grief.
Oh,
I ran from her because I was so angry. And, I got to continue to cry and have a fit because I don't think there was any way to know how to deal with those big emotions.
Yeah.
Which then made me feel wrong for having more of a shutdown. So maybe to be held in my true grief that was absolutely righteously deserved to be felt, it still is, what happened to not only the people that raised my mother, but also me. And in moving to the South and having my mother share stories around, I was sharing with you, Frances Bosket and her nanny, and these relationships of women in the field teaching her about certain plant life and connection to the earth, and the way she always shared her love for the women that raised her, that were such a part of the fabric of her life. I can only imagine the shame and guilt she swallowed that she didn't know where to put. So I understand it now, but at that time I was just furious and so really sad. It's I couldn't even get through films like The Help or anything I go to see. I couldn't do it. Like I was a very sensitive child.
Yeah.
And because I had such abuse in my early childhood, and people thought I had it all so made, by the way I looked at, I might have been chosen as the belle of the ball. Inside, it was just screaming to be held, held in my grief for what has been. And that people that I loved, they couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
And that's really I was disappointed,
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have helped me to be really letting myself be angry instead of stuff it back in.
Mm-hmm.
So just
so many different levels of that, right? Because you have you look at you're looking at a parent maybe for the first time through a critical lens, like why didn't you? And then there's more layers of it. Why aren't you right now? And then you've got for you to hold on to that, you're having to acknowledge that there's much that is not right in the world. And as much as we love our parents, their capacity to actually fix the wrongs.
And it was confusing to me. This is a hard thing to say, but I didn't see color. Like at 15, my first boyfriend was Black, and I had no idea why it was a problem at the Southern school I was going to, or with my parents. I didn't understand.
So they hadn't talked about that. It's just
again under the rug until I brought it literally to their front door.
Yeah.
Because
there's movies about that,
But it's like I don't think they knew how to. If I look back, not to justify or excuse it, but I look at like the freeze of just not knowing how to deal with their own shame.
I'm curious about what you guys think. I think the three things that I will continue to think about is I think a lot of the right-wing backlash against racial equity and the civil rights movement and the memory of it is driven by unrecognized shame about it. And then this sort of aggressive effort to remove any reason for feeling shame, right? So we avoid shame by saying, I didn't do anything, it wasn't my fault. You're trying to make me feel shame. And that entire discourse has overtaken the moral imperative to create a more accessible, equitable society. It's taken away the willingness to sit with the real stories. It's taken away the agency of people who actually transformed our world and the partnerships that they had with white people to do that. I mean, all of that has been swept under the rug. And I've had difficulty in figuring out how to think about it. Like, what is driving this effort to just stomp it out? So to hear the emotional reaction that you had, and then the reaction of your mom to that, does make me think that there is something to be said about taking seriously the discourse about shame. Not to deny it, but to say, okay, what are we gonna do about it? What is the best practice when it comes to shame-inducing moments in our history, in our memory?
Do you have any suggestions or tools for how to compost it?
Well, so it's why I started with what would you have wanted? And you started to say that you would have wanted her to hold you and sit with your grief, which sounds like, that's what we would want. And it's also the thing that's hard if she is still dealing with her own shame about it.
Exactly.
And I think I speculate, I don't know, because I was raised on the other side of this track, right? And there is a parallel to it that I'll say in a minute, but I think that maybe one of the ways that parents deal with their inability to touch that grief is to try to minimize it or ignore it or do, well, what did you think? What did you expect me to do? So it's sort of a way of getting you away from those feelings,
Yeah, distracting it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm wondering, as you say, embrace me and help me through that grief. Is there a door that can be passed through that appeals to parents to say, look, if you really are worried about your children, the move shouldn't be to try to shield them. That's not what's harming them. What's harming them is they're waking up to a reality about this country and potentially about you. And that involves a loss of a fantasy, a loss of a belief. It's a little bit like when you realize Santa Claus doesn't really exist. There's a moment of sadness there, right?
It's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I've got one there too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But maybe if there is a way, at least for liberal-leaning parents, to say, there's a hurt here that is not going to go away by simply denying it.
Well, what is so amazing to hear you say, not in regards to when my children came home and shared that they had learned about segregation and separation, all of this, and that they couldn't believe it. The same, what, how is this possible? And then I got to say, I know I had this insanely upsetting feeling when I first found out, and locked myself in my room and couldn't believe it. And that's what they call my mom. We talked about it. I don't think she knew what to do, and that's why Mama is so passionate for the work I'm doing right now in the world. And so they knew about this, that I was flying out, and where she goes again to stand up and to do whatever I can to share our voices.
As you know, I have a Martin Luther King story in revert that also is my ground zero. So it's kind of interesting that it's yours as well. But Sonny, you're the therapist. What should be said to the?
Well, I was thinking as you were talking. I used to be a kindergarten teacher, really, and this particular topic did not come up, but topics came up. Like there was the mother of a child who had come to the classroom to help set up an Easter party. I had taken her children outside. And one of the mothers, there were two mothers, one of the mothers had a cerebral hemorrhage. Right then and there. So the ambulance came. It was a whole long story, but the ambulance came, took her away, and here's her son, Stephen. And so, of course, Stephen, she died the next day on the operating table. And I will tell you as an aside, but my husband and I were with her for her last meal because her family would not come. That's a whole other story. My husband didn't even know her. I barely knew her and just had a kid in the class. But we talked about what had happened. I'd had 25 kids, and Stephen's not there. And when are we going to stay with Stephen when he comes back? Because his mommy has died. And what does that mean? And so we practiced what would be appropriate to say to Stephen. This is what was coming to my mind as you guys were talking. And so, I practiced with the children how to talk to Stephen about, I'm so sorry that your mother died. The end of this story is there was a Jehovah's Witness girl in my class who was always kind of a pain, Joanne. See, I remember these names this was 50 years ago. And Joanne, when Stephen did come back, Joanne said to him, Stephen, you don't have to worry because your mommy's already resurrected. That was her contribution. But my point is, there is a way to talk to children. And I had a couple of African-American children in class, I think 2 or 3. It didn't seem to be a big deal to the kids at all. I mean, they're just kids together in kindergarten. But I think, today Bill Mullen talked with Dr. Elders about how to talk about sex education to 5-year-olds. Remember we talked about that? Mm-hmm. He said, well, we start by talking about we have private areas of our body and people don't touch it unless if they do, you go tell your mommy. I think there is a way, depending on the age of the child and their ability to comprehend, to break it down.
So what do you
be
think
able to see
Dell's
the
mom
truth.
should have said to her when she discovered segregation, the assassination of Martin Luther King, and the fact that her mom was on the beneficiary side of this? What should she have said? Or what could she have said?
I think what the mom could have said, and I heard what you said to Bill about it, I think the mom could have said, I see how upset you are. Why don't you tell me what it is that's upsetting you, Mom? So the mom doesn't even have to agree. Martha was not a tall order for my mother, because Kim knows my mother's story. It's a totally different one. And I said to Kim the other day, have you ever seen a chain gang? And she said, no. I said, well, I have. And, you know, my mother was horrified, of course. My mother said, this is really wrong. This is all wrong. This is all wrong. Do you see what's happening? There's no white men on that chain gang. All black men. The only guy that was a white man was the guy on the horse with a shotgun and reflective glasses. A big guy. So, I mean, I could tell you a lot of stories about those 3 years in Florida that we were there. It was a brief time that I was a kid. And it was pretty awful. But there wasn't a lot for us personally to do about it, although my mother made some big attempts. She made some big attempts to counteract it. But I think it just depends on the mother and how in tune she is with the kids. And also whether she's willing, and again, this has to come from her own value system about what's right or wrong, you know?
And thank you for doing your part to do what you can to change it. But she's, you know, I think for the first time in my mother's life, she's saying things like she's proud of me, you know, the things that I think she is. And for me, it's just an honor to learn and to have these conversations, because these were moments in my life that were pivotal in changing me.
Mm-hmm.
And then also being in the South and in Georgia, and then going back to the beauty, but the very monocrop energy of Santa Barbara, you know, everyone being white and privileged in a certain way that was very difficult for me to digest, because I had the luxury of other exposures, of seeing other sides of the coin.
And you've had kind of a tripartite experience, right? Because you come from one place where it's not as white because Black people are right there, but the hierarchy is pretty clear as well to Santa Barbara, where it's, you know, kind of monochromatic, and so the manufacturing of that reality is kind of a distant thing. And then New York, you know, other places where it's more of a, yes.
Yeah, it does. No, I always said to my mom that one of the richest things she's ever given me was the currency of the diversity of the childhood I had. Even if it was challenging, I got to really experience things.
A lot of people haven't had quite your experience, so there's a lot you can bring to this current moment, you know, distill all of that.
Well, I'm so grateful for what you've brought to this current moment, and not just for the world, but for me specifically. It's been a very healing week listening to your book and just being able to immerse myself in Juneteenth in a way that I never would have had the honor of. It was and will forever be a sacred moment in my life.
Well, something was meant to happen. Maybe not the thing that we planned, but
Never is.
I think, shall we continue over food?
Shall we?
Yes.